Now, I don't know if y'all have heard, but Tom Brady is headed back to Foxborough. Now, with his return back to New England, he's going to be facing Bill Belichick, Mac Jones, and the Patriots passing attack. And that's what's going to be the focus of today's short is what to do with those pass catchers. I mean, all of it centers at Mac Jones, right? Now, as of right now, he has been going through some of those rookie pains that we expected to have with him. 74% completion rate, with a clean pocket, 50% completion rate while he's under duress. And when I mean under duress, I mean, yeah, it ain't looking all that great for him as of right now. And I can understand. I mean, especially if we're going up against the Buccaneers defensive line. We've got JPP, we've got Vita Vea, we've got so many of those guys that we know can generate pressure. And so I get it. Now, with most of his passes, like being under 10 air yards, about 82% of his passes have been kept short. At least the volume has somewhat been there for those high percentage throws, like for his pass catchers. And while they're sitting at 16th in pass rate over expectation, we can at least expect some of that volume to go to those wide receivers in order to create or generate enough of that production for them to be, at the very least, wide receiver twos, wide receiver threes. But there should be some upside. Tampa Bay is first in the league in pass rate over expectation. I mean, the scoring that they've been able to generate has put up enough of those games where we've seen 45 to 50-point games in each of their games so far through week 3. So let's dissect the way that each of the teams have approached playing against the Buccaneers, how they've exploited some of that defense. And I think we can take some of that to heart and how we can approach the game like for each of the pass catchers. Now, they played who? They played Dak Prescott, they played Matt Stafford, and they played Matt Ryan as well. Each of those teams that they've played against, all three ran 12 personnel or 2 tight end sets at either the highest or second highest rate for that team in that specific week. Now, that would lead you to believe that we should be looking to Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, to see if we can have some sort of production at the tight end position. And that hasn't really been the case. Any of the tight ends that have faced them so far, 5 targets for Tyler Higbee, wound up getting a touchdown though, 6 targets for Kyle Pitts at a 12% target share. Even Dalton Schultz and Blake Jarwin, they combined for 9 targets for a total of 16%, but it's not that any of those targets condensed around one person enough for us to be excited to start either of them. So we can't really go to the tight ends. We're really looking at the wide receivers here at this point. And now, to be quite honest, I'm taking a look at some of these passing charts, and I don't know about y'all. I am not a offensive coordinator, coaching guru, or whatever. But if I look at, let's say, this passing chart from Matt Ryan in week 2, passing chart from Matthew Stafford in week 3, even going all the way back to week 1 and looking at this passing chart, what am I seeing here? What are y'all seeing here from a pattern perspective? I'm seeing a lot of the targets concentrated to the outside, to the perimeter, even to the perimeter here for Matt Ryan, with very few targets concentrated toward the center. They're looking at trying to exploit some of their weaker corners that they've had, with Sean Murphy-Bunting being out after week 1. The teams are really trying to stress that secondary and go away from the defensive strength of the Buccaneers, which, if we're talking about Bill Belichick, of course you would think, who is the guru of the rational coaching, why not try and use the same blueprint that other teams have used against them? So let's look at the types of wide receivers that they faced so far. Let's look at the archetypes of wide receivers, because if you just go through and just scroll the box scores, you're not going to take a ton from them. But let's look at who has excelled against them. In week 1, it was Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, both combining for over 100 yards, and Amari got the 2 tuds. Cooper Kupp just had 9 for 96 and 2 against them. We're talking about not necessarily speedsters, but route running savants, have that nuance in their game that can be schemed open. That works for Jakobi Meyers. 3.4 yards of separation according to next gen stats. He also leads the team in yards per route run. So from an efficiency standpoint, Meyers should be able to be the one that you can look to for at least those wide receiver 2 type numbers. But who else has beaten the Buccaneers? We're talking about speed here. Deshaun Jackson just went off against him for 3 for 120 and 1. Calvin Ridley with his 4.5 speed, 7 for 63 and 1 against them. So that means Nelson Agholor, Kendrick Bourne, they also have upside as either wide receiver 3 or what the heck flexes, as we call them here at Footballguys. So looking at the offense as a whole, or looking at the way that teams have approached them as a whole, the only running back to score a rushing touchdown against the Buccaneers so far has been Cordell Patterson. The only tight end to score against them is Tyler Higbee on 5 targets. So my focus for this week and my recommendation to y'all is to look at the wide receivers, look at Jakobi Meyers. If you need some punch, look at Nelson Agholor, look at Kendrick Bourne. But other than that, that's how I'm approaching the Patriots passing attack in week 4. Hope y'all enjoys the games this week. I'll catch y'all next week.